3 months after the breakup. After getting back together with Ariel again, I tried to fix the flaws he saw in me. What he hated most was my being too dramatic. So I stopped being dramatic. He had scolded me for being too controlling. So I stopped controlling him. I worked hard to become the considerate, obedient girlfriend he described, quiet, compliant, never arguing or making a fuss. I no longer called him from time to check where he was. On rainy days, I didn't rush to his office building with an umbrella to pick him up when he caught a cold or got sick. I no longer went out of my way to boil ginger soup for him. Even on my birthday, when there was a thunderstorm, his childhood female friend called, saying she was afraid of thunder. I simply took the umbrella and handed it to him, cutting off his tentative probing. "Go ahead," I said. "Thunderstorms are dangerous. Just stay at her place, don't go back and forth." Ariel's back stiffened. He explained that he would definitely come back. "I have a regular department meeting early tomorrow morning. Come or don't come, whatever," I said impatiently. "If you do come, keep it quiet. Don't wake me up." Ariel's eyes reddened. He asked me, "Do you not love me anymore?" Chapter 01. How could it be that I didn't love him? If I didn't love him, I wouldn't have agreed to get back together with Ariel. But Ariel was acting up again, emotionally unstable. The churning irritation inside me grew even stronger. Ariel put his phone on speaker, trying to see how I would react. On the other end of the line, Sabine said she was scared and didn't want to be alone at home. She told Ariel to come over as soon as possible, that she would wait no matter how long it took. I glanced at Ariel. He pulled the corners of his mouth down, showing a hint of reluctance. A crack of thunder split the air. Sabine screamed, and the call was accidentally disconnected. Ariel called several times with no answer. His brows knit together, worry deepening on his face. "You should go," I said lightly. "If something happens to her, that wouldn't be good. You're good friends, aren't you?" Ariel hesitated and looked at me. The next second, he opened his arms, wanting to give me a reassuring hug. I subconsciously took half a step back, lowered my lashes, and changed the subject. I reminded him, "Those shoes are expensive. I'll find a pair you left here before. Change into them, then go to her place." As I turned away, I heard Ariel apologize, saying he couldn't ignore Sabine, but his steps toward the door never stopped. I secretly let out a breath of relief. I used to dislike being alone at home too. Ever since we got back together, Ariel had always been finding ways to come over to my place, or he would ask me out to go have fun. Today was my birthday. That was the only reason I let him come, to blow out the candles with me. My work and the courses I wanted to study had piled up. I needed time alone. But now, before the candles had even been blown out, Sabine's call came in. Ariel changed his shoes and stood in the entryway, fiddling with the umbrella, glancing at me from time to time. I put his shoes into a shopping bag, wrapped them in 2 layers to completely keep the rain out, and handed them to him. Ariel took them, clearly lost in thought. The atmosphere turned subtle. We stood stiffly in the entryway in silence, as if he were waiting for me to say something. After quite a while, I called out to him, "Oh, right," before I could finish what I wanted to say. Ariel let out a scoff and cut me off. "Ruby, here you go again. You promised you wouldn't get mad, and now you want to make a scene. I know today is your birthday and it's important, but Sabine is alone at home. She's been afraid of thunder since she was little, and her family isn't around. If I don't go, she'll feel even lonelier. My parents were also out of town today. The candles on the cake were still burning on the table, waiting for me to make a wish. Compared to Ariel going out, I was more afraid the candles would burn too long and the wax would drip onto the cream. I pressed my lips into a straight line. "I just wanted to remind you, I changed the locks. I haven't made you a spare key yet. If you come over tonight, you'll have to knock, and that will definitely wake me up. You might as well stay at Sabine's place." After saying that, I quickly walked to the dining table, hastily made a wish, and blew out the candles. Yet I didn't hear the sound of the door opening. I hurried back out and saw Ariel standing there, his expression blank, as if lost in thought. In the past, by this point, he would have already rushed out to Sabine's place. It seemed that after 3 months apart, he hadn't remained completely unchanged. Seeing me return, Ariel didn't beat around the bush. His confidence was gone as he asked softly, "You really don't mind? Today was my birthday. I really wanted to eat cake." I looked straight at him. "How many times are you going to ask?" Then I told him, "Didn't you say that you two just grew up together? If anything were going to happen, it would have happened long ago." Using his own tone, I repeated his past words. "It wasn't possible before, and it won't be in the future either. I trust you. Hurry up and go." My impatience was obvious by the end. Fresh cream melts very easily. The look on Ariel's face shifted back and forth. Unreadable. He was hesitating. Maybe because we had been locked in the standoff for too long. Sabine's phone call rang again. It was the custom ringtone she had deliberately set on Ariel's phone long ago. He picked up quickly and lied. "I'm on the way. I'll be there soon." Sabine didn't believe him and said a few emotionally charged things on the call. I wasn't curious about what she said. After listening, Ariel became visibly anxious and hurried toward the door. Before leaving, he said to me, "Ruby, don't sleep too deeply." I lowered my gaze and didn't look at him. His tone was firm. "No matter how late it is, remember to wait for me so we can cut the cake together." I stood silently in the entryway. Eating birthday cake alone is too sad. He thought for a moment, then added, "Hearing that," I smiled slightly and replied, "Okay, I'll put a pillow next to the cake." Ariel smiled, reassured, and left. If this were before, I might have stayed awake all night, imagining Ariel and Sabine together, crying quietly until half my pillow was soaked, using up an entire box of tissues, blowing my nose. The next day, with swollen eyes and a throbbing head, waiting for Ariel to come find me and give me an explanation. Even if he lied to me, said a few sweet words to placate me, I would have calmed down. After this 3-month breakup, I'd matured quite a bit. My phone vibrated, someone wishing me a happy birthday. I sat at the dining table, replying one by one to all the birthday messages. Only then did it truly sink in that I was a year older. Oh right, I have 2 pillows. That night, I hugged one pillow, resting it against my stomach. Soft and fluffy, I slept soundly. I wasn't really lying to him, was I? The pillow was next to the cake. Chapter 02. At 7 in the morning, I got up and washed up. Ariel hadn't come back at all. My phone was on silent. Only then did I realize he had called me several times last night. When I didn't answer, Ariel sent a bunch of messages, proactively reporting in. That was a bit unusual. "Stinky Ruby, you little pig. Why aren't you answering your phone? Did you fall asleep with the cake? You kept waiting for me. Did my stinky little pig pass out from hunger? When you wake up tomorrow and open the door, there'll be breakfast waiting. Your husband already bought it for you. 4 hours later. Ruby. I'm sorry." Sabine was really scared. I didn't expect the rain to last the entire night. "Are you mad? Ignoring me?" The last message came at dawn. "Good thing you fell asleep." I couldn't be bothered to analyze Ariel's emotional journey. I closed his chat window, opened TikTok, switched to my tiny alt account, and found Sabine's alt account. She had blocked my main TikTok account. Her alt was for rambling thoughts and posting daily meals. Neither Ariel nor she knew that I had another tiny alt account. The most memorable chat record between Sabine and me recently was still the one where she apologized to me, saying she had crossed boundaries. She said she genuinely hoped Ariel and I would date properly and stay together for a lifetime. After saying that, she blocked me and sent screenshots of the chat to Ariel. That led Ariel to argue with me again back then and smash the ceramic mug I had made by hand and given to him. Sabine's TikTok alt never shows her face. I only discovered it once when she accidentally tagged the same city. Sure enough, her childhood friend's love diary hadn't stopped updating. It had posts from early this morning. I had to be comforted for so long. I pretended to be asleep before he dared to sleep. I'm dying laughing. What's so important about a girlfriend's birthday? Childhood friends are the ones who stay with you for life. Attached was a photo of Ariel sleeping on Sabine's bed, with a long body pillow placed between them. Ariel's face was lightly blurred with mosaic, but you could still tell he was a handsome guy. The comments were full of people praising how good-looking he was. I liked the post and commented, "The butterfly lovers." Covers mouth laughing. JPG. Not long after I posted it, the doorbell rang. It was Ariel, on his way to my place. He had already bought breakfast. I said I didn't have time to eat at home, so he volunteered to drive me. I nodded. Of course. I carried several big bags to the office. In the break room, I laid out steaming hot breakfasts, both Chinese and Western. Ariel must have felt very guilty rushing over this morning. He bought so much, there was no way I could finish it. Last night's cake hadn't even been digested yet, so I ate while handing food to coworkers passing by. With my cheeks puffed out, I said, "My boyfriend bought this. It's too much for me, help me eat some." A female coworker who didn't know the situation looked at me with envy and said, "Your boyfriend is so good to you. I saw you getting out of his car this morning. His side profile was movie star handsome, and he bought you all this breakfast." I swallowed a mouthful of soy milk and said casually, "Want him? Help me write a report and I'll sell my boyfriend to you for $1.99. She laughed softly. I didn't tell her that this oh-so-good boyfriend spent the night with his childhood female friend on my birthday because she was afraid of thunder. If I said that, I wouldn't be able to save face. Logically, I should have had no appetite, but my taste buds could still register how fragrant, salty, and savory the food was. I drowned a soup dumpling in vinegar and put it into my mouth. The tip of my nose stung a little, no matter how sad I was. Food was still delicious. Chapter 03. Back in high school. Because of my parents' job transfer, I transferred to the city. The first person I remembered, aside from the homeroom teacher, was Ariel, who was in the same class as me, the same blue school uniform, but on him, it looked completely different from everyone else. Back then, I only dared to stay upstairs, squeezed together with a group of girls, sneaking glances at him while watching people play ball. There were always too many people around Ariel. I was just an ordinary girl, greedy, playful, not very smart. I heard that Ariel was aiming for University A. Such high scores, such a hatred for studying. Without thinking twice, I went all in, setting my goal on a future where I could be with him. I buried my head in my studies every day, just so I could get into the same university as Ariel and then confess to him. After getting into college, I adjusted myself, skincare and whitening, working out and exercising, following Ariel's following list, dressing like the influencers and celebrities he liked. Then I appeared in front of Ariel again. The first moment he saw my transformation, the spark of attraction in his eyes was impossible to hide. My feelings for him were sincere and persistent. I was the one who confessed first. "Date me, I'll be a 100-point girlfriend." It was close to noon that day. The sunlight was warm, and the university library was brightly lit. I made that promise with a serious face, my expression firm like a soldier's. His gaze gradually focused on my vivid, radiant face right in front of him. The corners of his lips lifted slightly, and he nodded. Maybe it was because I had spent too much time learning how to become someone Ariel would definitely like, that I failed to notice. Among all the people coming and going around him, there had always been a Sabine. One night in college, Ariel asked me to go to a bar with him. He wanted to officially announce our relationship in front of a few friends. That day, as soon as we arrived at the bar, my lower abdomen started aching faintly. Before long, a familiar warm flow appeared. My period had arrived uninvited. I rushed to the restroom. I hadn't brought a pad. It was extremely awkward. I was in the last stall. I heard someone come in and was about to call out for help, when I heard a burst of noise. Listening more closely, it sounded like two girls were about to start arguing. One of them spoke stubbornly, "I'm basically half of Ariel's family. No matter what, I have to back him up and give that girl a warning, let her know our Ariel isn't someone she can bully." The other girl said helplessly, "You'd better have some restraint. Don't mess things up so badly you can't even stay friends." That girl snapped, "Then we won't be friends." I didn't make a sound. In fact, I'd had a bad feeling since the moment I left home. My bangs that refused to behave no matter how I styled them that day. The sudden arrival of my period. It all felt like a warning telling me not to come. After dealing with everything in near embarrassment, I returned to the private room. On the surface, I seemed fine, but in truth, I wanted to see who that girl was, the one who said she wanted to put me in my place. That was the first time I met Sabine. On the surface, she looked like she accepted me, but she couldn't hide the malice in her eyes. The moment I entered the room, Sabine immediately hooked her arm around Ariel's, her actions revealing unease. Because I was late, Ariel had already drunk quite a bit. He struggled lightly but didn't use much force. Seeing that, she pouted unhappily. Oh wow. Now that you have a girlfriend, you don't want us anymore. Huh? Ariel tried to smooth things over. How could that be? You're all people I grew up with. There were other friends present. One girl frowned deeply and forcefully tugged Sabine's arm. Sabine hesitated for a while before slowly letting go, then shot me a look, clearly wanting to see if I would burst into tears on the spot. The awkwardness on my face was impossible to hide. I spent the entire night sitting stiffly in a corner. On the way home, Ariel noticed I hadn't said a word. He took the initiative to apologize. Sabine's just like that. She's sharp-tongued but soft-hearted. And a bit clingy. Don't take it personally. I didn't dare ask him whether his friends were more important or I was. I felt that asking such a question so soon into our relationship would be stupid. If I asked, the love that had just begun to sprout might end just like that. Over the years we dated, from college to the workplace, I did my best to live up to what I had once told him. To be a 100-point girlfriend. I think I really liked Ariel. My eyes held only him, so I could pretend all the noise didn't exist. Until 3 months ago, at a gathering, they were playing a drinking game. The king's punishment was for numbers 3 and 8 to kiss. When Sabine saw that one of them was Ariel, her expression turned sweet. She instinctively covered her reddening ears. The people around them started cheering loudly. Ariel said to me, "It's just a game. Don't take it so seriously. If you think this counts as cheating, you can find someone too." I went cold and asked him, "Say that again if you dare." That was the reason we broke up last time. Ariel was my first love. I placed a lot of importance on him. I thought he wasn't stupid. If he liked me enough, he wouldn't have allowed himself and this so-called friend of his to cross boundaries again and again. So, in truth, he didn't like me that much after all. Chapter 04. When are you going to give me a spare key? Ariel came to pick me up after work and asked naturally. I looked annoyed. I've been too busy lately. I keep forgetting to go get one made. Buzz. Buzz. Right then, my phone vibrated twice, cutting off what I was about to say. It was a new intern at the company. His name was Jeremy. In his self-introduction, he said he was someone who had crossed the swamp and was heading toward a better future. A boy who had just graduated, clueless about everything. When I picked up the call, I felt an inexplicable sense of relief. At least I didn't have to face Ariel's question about the spare key. The new lock was complicated. It really wasn't easy to find a place that could make a matching key. I spoke slowly into the phone. That document, don't worry. Take your time. Explain it slowly. In the past, work mattered more to me than Ariel. After getting off work, I didn't want to deal with anything work-related. During those 3 months after the breakup, I buried myself in work, trying to numb myself. I hadn't expected my boss to hand me a mid-level project with great prospects. I had followed it from the very beginning. Without me, it really wouldn't work. No one else could clearly walk Jeremy through the past data. For someone like him, who hadn't gone through it before, even handling the process alone made his panic obvious. So I patiently went through everything with him step by step. Ariel's expression grew darker and darker. I held his hand, but my mind was completely on the work on the other end of the call. In the middle of it, an uncontrollable fragment of memory flashed through my mind. Back in college, I worked part-time at a clothing store. One day, Sabine happened to come shopping with friends and ran into me. She walked in, leaned close to another girl's ear, and whispered something I couldn't hear. The two of them then inexplicably scanned me from head to toe with their eyes, as if asking silently, "How could Ariel choose a girl like you as his girlfriend?" I clenched my fists, my nails nearly digging into my flesh. On my face, I forced a customer service smile. Sabine walked over and asked me with thinly veiled disdain, "Are you really that short on money? You even have to work a part-time job?" I didn't say that I wanted to buy Ariel better gifts, or that I didn't want to spend too much of my parents' money. After all, saying that would ruin the surprise and also burden him psychologically. She said out loud, "I'll bring some friends to try on clothes and help boost your sales." But when the neatly folded clothes were messed up, I was the one who had to clean them. When they tried on pile after pile of clothes in the fitting room without buying anything, I was the one enduring the store manager's glares. Every time Sabine came out of the fitting room, she would wear a fake apologetic expression. Sorry. It's not really our style. Maybe it's because this shop, and when she said the second half of that sentence, her gaze lingered on me. A few days later, Sabine came again with a different group of friends. She said apologetically, I didn't expect my friends wouldn't like it either. But there wasn't a trace of apology in her eyes. Sabine always spoke with hidden meanings. Every word pointed. I finally couldn't take it anymore and told Ariel about her behavior. He thought for a moment. Are you being too sensitive? Ariel was clearly still a student himself and had never worked. Yet he lectured me like someone experienced. That's just how part-time jobs are. Even without Sabine, there would be other difficult customers. I pressed my lips together, forcing myself not to snap at him. Then he asked, if you're short on money, why didn't you say so? I hadn't expected that. In his logic, the reason I worked part-time was simply because I lacked money. He transferred me 3,000 yuan. I accepted it. Together with my part-time earnings, I bought him an even better gift. My family wasn't poor. I just didn't like spending my parents' money recklessly. They were honest people who did steady, ordinary work, earning money slowly. Growing up, they taught me never to look down on manual labor, and never to mistreat people in the service industry. Do your job well. Fulfill your responsibility. Money, in their eyes, was earned honestly, step by step. Everyone has their own swamp to cross, and each person has to put in different kinds of effort. Back then, it took me a long time to emotionally regulate before I sealed that memory away. I hadn't expected that I hadn't truly forgotten it. I only quit that job after I had saved enough money to buy Ariel's gift. I really was good at enduring things, pulling myself out of the memory and back to the present. The phone call had lasted a long time, long enough for Ariel to drive me near the restaurant. He protected me as we carefully wove through the crowd, sat down, and ordered food. When all the dishes were served, Ariel waited for me to pick up my chopsticks first. My expression suddenly turned tense. I stood up abruptly, without sparing his feelings. I said to him, that boy still doesn't seem to know anything. I need to go back to the office. After a pause, I added, sorry about that. You eat by yourself. Thanks for making up my birthday for me. Honey. Ariel frowned. He couldn't understand what kind of issue was so difficult that it required such a long phone call and a personal trip back. He tried to keep me there. Don't go. Stay and eat. Worst case, just quit your job. Your husband will support you. In the end, I still left. My legs are mine. Before leaving, I took a photo, so I could post it later to thank my boyfriend Ariel for his thoughtfulness. Ariel sat alone in the restaurant, facing a table full of food, his expression ugly. After some thought, I called Sabine. In a gentle voice, I said to her, Sabine, come keep Ariel company for dinner. He ordered too much food for my birthday. She sounded surprised. After all, I rarely called her proactively. She tried to put on airs. What do you mean? You want me to go eat your leftovers? I laughed softly. Why would you say that? I didn't eat any. I really didn't understand. Why was Sabine so angry? My leftovers. She clearly loved eating them. Chapter 05. Speaking of leftovers, I've eaten the ones Sabine left for me too. After graduating from college, Ariel's parents wanted their son to be more independent. So they bought him a small apartment near his company. On the day he moved into the new place, it was a Saturday, the sky clear and cloudless. As his girlfriend, I was busy in the kitchen the entire afternoon. At home, I'd barely ever lifted a finger, yet out here, I was putting in so much effort just to please a man. If my parents knew, they'd probably wipe away tears in secret when I carried out the last dish. Most of the food on the table had already been eaten. Maybe I was slow, but they didn't wait for me at all. I froze on the spot at the sight. Sabine seemed to notice my confusion and irritation. She said to me, it's all my fault. I was too hungry and kept urging them to start eating. Your girlfriend hasn't eaten yet. Ariel glanced at me indifferently and said with certainty, what is she even mad about? Sabine was a woman too. How could she not understand another woman's feelings? She lightly smacked Ariel. Then she turned to me with a smile. Ruby, I scolded him for you. We're all at home anyway, worst case. I'll cook a few dishes myself later. Sabine walked over, tugged the apron off me, and pushed me down to sit beside Ariel. Ariel indulged those friends as they joked around. The new apartment was filled with the smell of smoke and alcohol, the table littered with bones and napkins. After spending so long in the kitchen, inhaling too much cooking oil smoke, I had no appetite at all. Looking at the leftovers, I only took a few sips of my drink. I don't know how much time passed, but the table filled up with crushed beer bottles. Ariel went out to buy more alcohol. Sabine brought over several dishes that looked completely charred and set them in front of me. I failed to control my expression and lowered my voice, making up an excuse. You guys eat. I tasted too much while cooking. I'm not hungry. Sabine frowned deeply, unable to accept my refusal. She suddenly raised her voice and yelled at me. I worked so hard on these. Why won't you eat them? The lively conversation around house prices, investments, stocks, and funds was abruptly cut off. Everyone's gaze snapped to me. They glanced at the dishes, then at Sabine, and mocked her. Sabine, the stuff you made, I don't even know what to say. At least it should be edible, right? Is this even food? You said you'd cook yourself. Turns out you came to poison us personally? Laughter broke out one after another. Sabine's tears suddenly fell. I tried to smooth things over. Sabine, don't cry. Maybe it's the new stove. You're not used to the heat yet, so it looks burnt. Then eat it. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? She picked up a small piece and shoved it toward me. I thought for a moment, then opened my mouth, ready to eat it, just to give her a way out. Discomfort flashed across everyone's faces as they stopped me. Sounds of ugh, and don't eat it. Your health matters, filled the air. Sabine's eyes turned red as she cried, throwing down her chopsticks. Not wanting to embarrass anyone, I picked up the chopsticks beside me, but Sabine no longer wanted me to eat. After hearing what they said, she started slapping the back of my hand hard, trying to knock my chopsticks away. The back of my hand turned red. I looked helpless, her face flushed with anger. She finally flipped several dishes upside down onto the table. Just then, Ariel returned from buying alcohol. What he saw was Sabine crying nonstop, arguing with several friends, while I, his girlfriend, sat quietly in my seat, at a loss, not daring to speak. That day, even though there were other people present, he could only hear Sabine's voice. She recounted what happened entirely from her own perspective. How I had embarrassed her. How everyone bullied her for cooking badly. Absolutely ridiculous. After listening, Ariel punished everyone equally, splitting the blame down the middle, and I became the ringleader who bullied Sabine. Guilty beyond forgiveness. In a cold voice, he called me by my full name, Ruby Santos. Apologized to Sabine. When I heard that, the back of my neck actually ached. It felt like being hit by a car out of nowhere on the street and then being forced by the driver to apologize to the car. That's how absurd it was. I pointed at the dishes overturned on the table and said to Ariel, lift them up and take a look. Look first, then talk. Sabine sobbed. I worked so hard cooking. Look at her, she's bullying me. After saying that, she stood up as if to leave, her steps deliberately slow. It was late at night. Ariel was afraid she'd be unsafe going home alone, so he grabbed her hand and yelled at me, Ruby, I really didn't expect you to be this kind of person. So what if we ate first? Sabine saw you looking unhappy. She's been pampered since childhood, yet she was willing to cook a few dishes just so you could eat your fill. You don't appreciate good intentions, and you still bully her like this. As he said this, Sabine wiped her tears and, from behind him, shot me a smug look. Pampered since childhood. Wasn't I pampered too? Protected and raised by my parents? He clearly knew that I wasn't good at cooking either. When I heard he wanted to invite friends over for a meal, several of my fingers were still wrapped in bandages, and I'd secretly practiced at home for months. I'd poured out countless failed dishes, made plenty of disastrous attempts. What kind of person was she? And what kind of person was I? That after all those years together, he could say that about me? My eyes instantly reddened. I looked at Sabine. The one who should leave isn't you. It's me. After I left that day, Several of his friends explained the whole situation to him. Later, he sent flowers, waited downstairs at my office every day, and apologized multiple times, but he never once mentioned Sabine's problem. I guess from that moment on, my heart had already begun to die, little by little, and yet, I really did love the version of myself who tried so hard to be a perfect 100. All for the person she loved. Chapter 06. Back to the present. Ariel hadn't expected Sabine to show up and keep him company for dinner. When he saw Sabine suddenly appear in front of him, the only thing on his face was shock. He frowned deeply and asked what was going on. That was when he found out I was the one who had called Sabine. The messages he sent me afterward were full of disbelief. Ariel probably never imagined that I would be willing, or able, to let a girl I had always been on guard against sit with him for dinner, especially when that dinner was meant to make up for my birthday. I didn't answer his calls. After he finished texting, he would call again about every half hour. By the time I finally picked up, it was already late at night. I wasn't ignoring him on purpose. My phone was just on silent, and Ariel's WeChat had also been set to do not disturb by me. When the call connected, Jeremy and I had just finished a late-night snack. I stared at this clumsy newcomer and redid the files with him bit by bit. I genuinely couldn't understand how an intern could lose all the files he had already completed. But with the presentation coming up soon, I had no choice but to redo everything with him. As we worked, I gradually realized that he actually knew how to do it. That saved me a lot of effort explaining things. Jeremy was just childlike at heart. He simply wanted someone to keep him company while finishing the work. To make up for dragging me over to help, I said I wanted to try the new donut shop that had just opened near the company. It was late, and I didn't know which flavor was good. The shop might not even have the flavor I wanted left. So I said anything was fine. When Jeremy came back, he said he had simply bought one of every flavor. Jeremy said, "Sister Ruby, try them all. New things are always better than the old." He'd better have meant just the flavors. It was raining outside, but inside my heart, the skies were clearing. I've never really had much of a sense of self. I always followed the crowd, went with the trend, did what everyone else did, following my parents' wishes, following my boyfriend's wishes. I never thought someone would use this kind of way to try to teach me to understand myself. And that person turned out to be Jeremy. Jeremy, this boy, felt very new to me. He was like a hedgehog. Even Jenny, the fiercest person in the company, he dared to argue with her openly. And he did it to stand up for me, with logic and reason. Yet in front of me, he always showed his soft, vulnerable side, without any reservations. When I realized that Ariel had actually been trying to reach me all this time, by the time I answered his call, he was already on the verge of erupting like a volcano. What kind of work needs to be done until the middle of the night? His voice trembled slightly. Are you still at the office? I'll come pick you up. That was the last thing I wanted to hear. In the middle of the night, the entire office building wasn't occupied by just me and Jeremy. With his emotions unstable, if he caused a scene at the company entrance, the one who'd lose face wouldn't just be him, it would be me too. Instinctively, my gaze shifted to Jeremy. When Jeremy met my eyes, he immediately stood up and walked away, giving me space to talk. I said to Ariel, "Don't come, I'll go back on my own later." My tone was colder and more distant than ever before. Even I found it unfamiliar. Are you sure? He found it unbelievable too, forcing himself to calm down before speaking again. Ruby, are you still mad about me and Sabine? I answered reflexively, fast and firm. I'm not. Ariel's tone turned sharp, almost gritted. Then why did you let Sabine eat dinner with me? I hope you're happy. I replied lightly. It sounded calm, but I deliberately stressed the word happy. Ariel went silent on the other end of the call. It seemed he had remembered it too. The worst fight we ever had over Sabine, the one that led to our breakup. At that time, I had already joined this company. In less than half a year, I'd been transferred into the core department. The competition was intense, and two senior colleagues were especially difficult to deal with. One was named Bruno. He would suddenly leave early or take time off, dumping his work on me. The other was Jenny's older sister, fierce beyond measure. And unfortunately, my mentor. When I got home at night, I told Ariel about the problems I faced at work. After listening, he comforted me tenderly, but what he said was still the same old line, "Don't do it anymore. Worst case, just quit, your husband will support you." I didn't agree. This job had been arranged by my parents. I knew that with my personality, if I didn't work and just stayed at home, I would only focus more on him and Sabine, so I had to enrich my own life. I couldn't let him think I was just a jealous, troublemaking woman with a narrow mind, even though, in truth, I didn't like causing trouble at all, and I didn't like competing with others either. Sabine was always able to insert herself into our lives. Behind Ariel's back, she would smile arrogantly in front of me and say, "Ruby, who do you think Ariel would believe, me or you?" I complained to Ariel about this friend of his more than once, even suggested that he see Sabine less. I loved him so much that I didn't even dare say he shouldn't see her at all. At first, he tried to understand me. Gradually, though, he lost patience. He yelled at me, "Do you want me to have no friends at all and just revolve around you? Why are you so selfish? I need a social life too. It's normal to hang out with friends." Yes, if it were truly just normal friends, that would be fine. Ariel himself had once said it out loud. To Sabine, he said, "I feel more relaxed and happy when I'm with you." So it turned out, when he was with me, he wasn't relaxed, and he wasn't happy. Chapter 07. Sabine deliberately sent me the video of Ariel saying those words himself. When the video was shot, Sabine was leaning her head against his shoulder. Her hand was gripping Ariel's tie. The provocation in her eyes was impossible to miss. Ariel had been drinking, just a little drunk, and in the video his cheeks were flushed red. It was extremely suggestive. All the love I had vanished completely in that moment. After watching it, I forwarded the video directly to Ariel and broke up with him. Then I blocked him on every platform. He thought I was being willful and unreasonable on my own, refused to accept the breakup, and asked me to give him time and space to sort out his feelings. Sabine came to me afterward, saying she wanted to apologize. We met at a café. She put on a show of generosity and told me that she and Ariel were just pure friends. That night, she said, they had only drunk too much, and the video was taken without any malicious intent. She hoped I could understand. Yet when she said sorry, her attitude was anything but sincere. She even raised an eyebrow, careless and defiant. I frowned slightly. If it's not a sincere apology, then forget it. Sabine grabbed me, not letting me leave, timing it perfectly. She suddenly turned on me. I really hadn't expected her to be this unhinged. When she leaned in close to me, I was completely unprepared. Slap. She raised her hand and slapped me across the face. The sharp sound rang by my ear. Then came the ringing, exploding through my head in an instant. "You deserve it," she shouted, deliberately acting fierce and shrewish. "You think you're worthy of competing with me? If you've got the guts, hit me back." The last string of my rationality snapped. I took several deep breaths and raised my hand, ready to fight back. But someone grabbed my wrist. I stumbled half a step backward, completely off balance. When I turned around, it was Ariel. "Ruby, Sabine asked you out to sincerely apologize, not for you to cause a scene like this." Restrained by him, all I could do was glare at Sabine with hatred. Seizing the moment, Sabine picked up the glass of water on the table and splashed it straight at me. Ice-cold water drenched my face, leaving me utterly humiliated. The surrounding customers and staff spoke up for me. My heart was full of grievance. With reddened eyes, I looked at Ariel. After letting go of me, he quietly positioned himself in front of Sabine, shielding her behind him, desperate to clear my name and argue my case. I sniffed hard, trying to calm myself. "There are security cameras here," I said. "I didn't bully her. She rushed at me and hit me first. We can check the footage." A staff member handed me some tissues. The manager rushed over and said they were willing to cooperate and pull up the surveillance. A customer nearby reminded me, "Young lady, you should call the police right now." Sabine's body stiffened visibly. She instinctively wrapped her arm around Ariel's wrist. Seeing this scene, Ariel immediately realized that Sabine had once again let her temper get out of hand. But was this really just playing around? The manager asked me from the side, "Do you want me to help call the police?" Ariel coldly cut in on my behalf. No need to call the police. My girlfriend is just being irrationally jealous and picking on my friend. It's just a misunderstanding, a family matter. Hearing that it was just a jealous girlfriend and a relationship issue, the people around us no longer dared to say much. After all, even if the police came, once they heard it was about romance, they would likely just smooth things over. In that moment, I finally understood. Ariel thought he had me completely under control. The truth didn't matter to him at all, even if I was in the right, even if Sabine was the one making trouble. In his court, with him as the judge, I was destined to lose. Seeing my tears fall nonstop and my gaze grow distant, Ariel leaned close to my ear and said softly, "Whatever it is, we'll talk about it when we get back. Don't make a scene like this in front of others." He pulled me into his arms, trying to press me against his chest, as if to drive away the chill clinging to me. "Stop crying," he said. "If this was Sabine's fault, I'll stand up for you and get justice for you." I broke free from his embrace, gathered all the strength in my body, and slapped him hard across the face. Always gentle and compliant, that was the first time I had ever lost control like that. Sometimes, I truly hate myself, even when I tried to be ruthless. My voice trembled, and my tears burst free. In broken fragments, I finally said what I had been holding back. "Don't ever come looking for me again when I say we're broken up. I mean it." Chapter 08. Ariel eventually watched the surveillance footage after all. One day, a friend messaged me, "Ruby, I'm sorry. I can't take it anymore." Buzz. My phone vibrated. It was her call. I didn't understand why, but I picked up. Only after answering did I realize Ariel was using my friend's phone. He apologized to me. I really didn't expect Sabine to act like that. I heard his didn't expect, and found it utterly ridiculous. I sneered. "Maybe she just likes you too much." He found this version of me unfamiliar, and somewhat unacceptable. "Ruby, I don't want to break up. We've been together for so many years. How could that compare to the many years you and Sabine have shared?" I mocked. He had never heard me sound so sharp-tongued. Truthfully, deep down, I had always been a somewhat dark little girl. Not sunny at all. I only played the role he liked in front of him, which was why I seemed bright and cheerful. Ariel must have put the call on speaker, borrowing my friend's phone. Every now and then, there were so-called strategists beside him, helping him coax me. After several rounds, none of them managed to persuade me. He grew anxious, his tone noticeably heavier. Many times, he wanted to respond to me quickly, yet was even more afraid of speaking without thinking and saying something hurtful. If I had hung up the phone, I suspect it would have taken him a long time before he dared to contact me again. As the conversation went on, I finally realized Sabine was there too. Seeing the situation grow tense again and again, she suddenly spoke up, her tone ingratiating. "Ruby, we're both women. I know what you're doing. You're retreating to advance. You're actually reluctant to let Ariel go." The moment I heard Sabine's voice, I instinctively straightened my back, staring straight ahead, my gaze frozen. For a long while, I couldn't say a word. She kept talking, but not to me. She was instructing Ariel instead. "Stop trying to comfort her. She's still angry right now, like burning hot charcoal. I already told you to give her a few days. Once her emotions cool down, she'll naturally come back to reconcile with you. Don't go crying again then." Someone nearby scolded Sabine. "Enough. Stop talking already. This is all because of you." Day after day, Sabine protested. "What did I do? I'm already willing to wait here and help apologize." After that, she tried to put on a fake apology again. I hung up the phone. It felt as if I had cut off all contact with that entire group of people. The whole world instantly became unbearable to look at. For a brief moment, I seriously doubted myself. Was I the truly despicable, most detestable one? Was that why everyone around me bullied me, hurt me so badly, and left me feeling so wronged? That breakup was genuinely severe. I didn't just block Ariel, I blocked all of his friends too. Later, when we reconciled, several of them were never added back. Sabine was the first to shamelessly insist on adding me again. How did that reconciliation even happen? Oh right, Ariel must have listened to advice from one of those strategists. He started sending flowers to my company every day. Eventually, they piled up so much that an empty desk nearby was completely filled. Every day when I arrived at work, a huge bouquet of red roses sat on my desk. Attached was a card, written in Ariel's own handwriting. "You are my one and only." The message was mostly the same every time, that I was his only one, unique, irreplaceable. I once believed he was sincere enough, just too soft-hearted, which was why he left room for other women. And because my eyes held only him, my world was too narrow. That was why I couldn't tolerate or understand that men and women could, in fact, simply be friends. Chapter 09. That breakup left me completely shattered. From high school to college, and then into working life after graduation, almost a huge part of my life was filled with his traces. Peeling him away felt like peeling away a part of myself. Every morning I woke up thinking of him and cried. Every night, I couldn't even remember how I fell asleep. I walked into the bedroom and began sorting through everything related to Ariel. What could be thrown away? What could be mailed back? Photos we took together, souvenirs from our trips, surprises I had prepared in advance for the next anniversary. Some of them could no longer even be considered objects. They were me, and they were his sincerity. I packed them up one by one, preparing to send them to him, but he insisted that I hand them to him personally, that I see him one last time. After countless rounds of back and forth, we finally settled on a place to meet. When we took off our masks and saw each other's faces, our eyes reddened almost instantly. Mine and his tears were more honest than words. I suppose Sabine wasn't entirely wrong. I still couldn't let him go. I couldn't let go of who I used to be. He had once been the partner who made me feel the safest in this world. Even letting go required a very long time before I could truly accept, in my heart, that this person no longer belonged to me. It was like an amputation. Even long afterward, there would still be phantom pain. Our friends were utterly tired of our breaking up and getting back together, but I knew very clearly what I was doing. I was trying to desensitize myself. Even if I cried every day, there would come a day when I would be completely numb and no longer cry. Counting the most recent breakup, 3 months before getting back together, Ariel couldn't remember it clearly, but I remembered it vividly. We didn't live together. My parents had even bought me a small apartment. When we ate out, if he treated me once, I would treat him the next time. He cared a lot about appearances and came from a well-off family, so he always gave nice gifts on anniversaries. For the gifts he gave me, I would also find ways to return something of equal value, or even better. I wasn't lacking either. If he treated me well, I naturally treated him well in return. If we really were to get married someday, selling my small apartment would give us both capital to jointly buy a marital home, to truly build a family of equal footing. Ignoring Sabine, that unstable factor, he was, objectively, an excellent partner. Our future life was still something we could consider entrusting to each other. Spending a lifetime together. Friends around us were getting married and having children, and I felt a bit anxious too. Starting over with someone new, I no longer had the energy for that. I didn't expect you to still remember. I'm sorry. Ariel apologized to me again over the phone, hoping I would give him another chance. Just then, Jeremy, who had seemingly disappeared, suddenly leaned over and said, "Sister Ruby, I found the hairdryer." I replied instinctively, "Then hurry up and dry your hair, or you'll catch a cold." On the other end of the phone, Ariel instantly exploded. "Who is that guy next to you?" Hearing his tone, I felt a little scared, like suddenly encountering a carnivorous predator on the grasslands. I hurried to explain, "Oh, that's the new hire I mentioned before. Jeremy, just a regular coworker, just like the Sabine he talked about. Just an ordinary friend." Ariel let out a cold laugh. "A regular coworker?" I replied calmly, "Yes, I'm still working overtime." Every word Ariel spoke sounded like it was squeezed out through clenched teeth. "You'd better really be at the office." I frowned, my tone carrying a hint of reproach. "Ariel, don't be so childish. I'm working overtime at the office. Having male coworkers around is normal, isn't it?" Ariel hung up the phone. I didn't call back. When I turned my head, Jeremy couldn't even blow dry his hair properly. It looked like a bird's nest. I couldn't stand it and helped him dry his hair. He lowered his head like a puppy, letting my fingers act as a comb, obedient as I smoothed his hair. I didn't lie. I really was working overtime at the office until late at night. I even told him it really had just been raining outside. There was a foolish boy who got soaked in the rain on his way back from buying donuts just to make me happy. Chapter 10. This most recent breakup was different from the last one. Within 3 months, I had already completely sorted through most of Ariel's things. I had also learned from the failures of our previous breakups. I began to reassess my surroundings, especially my work environment. My parents had always taught me not to imitate the old hands in the company, because you never truly know what kind of background someone has. Always working honestly and diligently, I used to live in my own little world, with my eyes fixed only on my boyfriend. Back then, when I went through a breakup, even going to work every day felt like moving through life as a walking corpse. Seeing how low my spirits were, my colleague Bruno grew curious and asked me, "Didn't you say before that you wanted to buy that small apartment? The project I told you about, didn't you buy it?" I had bought it long ago. The price had risen quite a bit since then. Only then did I belatedly realize. So this was his way of paying me back. It was only then that I discovered that Bruno, whom I really disliked before, was actually a good person. In my impression, he was someone who always left work early, took time off, and pushed his tasks onto me. Later I found out he had been running around looking at properties. When it came to real estate investment, he was already something of a skilled amateur. After the breakup, I became even more focused on my work. The senior colleague who had been mentoring me, Jenny, had already been promoted, and many people in the company were dissatisfied with her. She was too busy, so she arranged for me to temporarily follow Bruno to job sites to learn. Every time we went to a site, Bruno would bring several packs of cigarettes and first chat casually with the property managers or security guards. I thought this old fox was slacking off while checking property prices, but after getting a grasp of the development's pricing, he went on to ask in detail about the companies inside, even the off-work hours of department heads. Timing it carefully, he made sure to become familiar with several people. "Isn't it annoying to keep showing up in front of people like that?" I asked. Based on his behavior, all I could think of were endless advertisements and sales pitches. I was confused. "Brother Zhang, there are a few companies we met just a few days ago. They already said they don't want to cooperate with us." Bruno replied calmly. "You can't wait until clients need something before promoting yourself. You have to make sure they already know you well. That way, when the time comes, they'll approach you before you even go looking for them." Later, I followed him to exhibitions and learned how he presented products. After several consecutive days, all I did was exchange business cards. Bruno, however, connected all those trivial bits of information that I had dismissed as pointless effort. In the past, I thought he was slick and glib, but listening carefully on site, I realized his way of speaking and his attitude were all meant to make people feel comfortable enough to genuinely consider what he said. Watching Bruno add many clients' personal contact information, I suddenly understood. Anyone who manages to stay in the workplace past the age of 35 is sharp as hell, working even harder in places you can't see. With his usual casual tone, he reminded me, I live off performance. Without results, the company wouldn't indulge me either. Seeing that I had taken his words to heart and fallen into thought, he dropped his flippant attitude and said seriously, "Ruby, you have to be more proactive in expanding your resources. Treat the world like a playground, be bolder. Especially you girls. You're naturally more delicate and perceptive. You need to make good use of your strengths." I nodded. After saying that, he seemed to regret it a little and added, "I don't mean telling you to learn bad habits or anything, okay?" I knew what he meant by being delicate. When I first joined the company, Jenny, who initially mentored me, was especially harsh with me. Later, there was one incident that completely changed her view of me. She realized I was useful. It was about booking a restaurant. The department had only gave me 2 instructions before heading to the airport to pick someone up. Go book a restaurant. The other party is a state-owned enterprise, and one of them is vegetarian. I booked a vegetarian restaurant that was quite remote, with an environment that was even a bit shabby. Jenny happened to be out negotiating a deal and only found out afterward. She called and told me to change the restaurant, but she contacted me too late. The department head had already taken the guests there. With the arrow already on the string, it had to be released. There was no time to change the restaurant. Still new to the workplace, I went to bed that night filled with anxiety. The next day at work, I came in with a miserable expression, but Jenny patted my shoulder and said I had done a good job. The department head never said a single useless word. I was the only one who caught it. The other party was a state-owned enterprise. They couldn't go to somewhere extravagant or flashy, and it was best to avoid crowds. And the reason the department head emphasized that one person was vegetarian was because that vegetarian was the one with final decision-making power. 3 months after a breakup, many things can happen. Ariel thought I was still that girl who only looked at him, who only understood love and heartbreak. That was really underestimating me, and also underestimating the version of himself who once fell in love with me. I had already begun to feel resentment toward him for constantly wavering between Sabine and me, like a seed, quietly taking root and growing wildly in my heart. Whatever remnants of love remained had long since been almost completely squandered by him. Chapter 11. Ariel started to panic. Little by little, he began to realize this reconciliation was different from all the ones before. The flowers and gifts Ariel gave me, I accepted them all on the surface, smiling politely. I even posted them on social media, but set the visibility so that only people in his circle could see. At gatherings, I used to stay glued to his side. Now, I was willing to talk to others. When we broke up before, I had blocked all his close friends. Now, I began to add and contact people among his friends, those with good family backgrounds and useful connections. Even Sabine, whom I despised so much, I would ask about what industry her parents were in and give her a pleasant expression. I used to sit quietly in the corner, listening to them chat. Now, when conversations turned to investment trends or money market funds, I could speak with substance. The company newcomer, Jeremy, appeared more than once in my conversations and phone calls. I no longer complained endlessly about work or dumped everything aside after clocking out, even when I was on one-on-one dates with Ariel. More than once, I used my gentlest voice to explain things to Jeremy. Ariel wasn't unaware of all this. He just assumed I was still being cautious because of Sabine, and because of how ugly things had gotten during our last breakup. To get back together with me again, Ariel changed a lot. But compared to before, I had changed far more. I was no longer willing to spend time dragging Ariel up mountains, holding each other while watching the sunrise at dawn. Nor was I willing to stay up late watching romance movies with him. I'd say they were boring and that we should sleep early instead. I used to remember every anniversary with Ariel, preparing thoughtful gifts months in advance, now piled in a corner collecting dust. When I finally gave them to him, I didn't even bother shaking the dust off. This time, for my birthday, I didn't even ask him about preferences. I ordered a strawberry cream cake he didn't like. In the past, on my birthdays, I was even willing to choose less sweet matcha milk crepe or tiramisu just for him. Ariel kept urging me to go on hot spring trips or travel together on weekends. Most of those trips ended up being him going alone. He would bring back souvenirs for me. I smiled sweetly, but in truth, I couldn't have cared less. Thinking about it again, Ariel realized I didn't even prepare a spare key to my place for him anymore. I worked overtime until late on Fridays, and was rumored to be ambiguously close with a company intern. Early one morning, Ariel blocked me at the entrance of my apartment. I was just about to speak, wanting to explain that I really had been working overtime the night before, when he suddenly grabbed my hand. His voice carried an almost pleading urgency. "Horse," Ariel said. "Don't say anything. I know. I misunderstood. You didn't do anything with anyone else. You're too kind-hearted. You wouldn't cheat. You don't lie. And you'd never be like me." I could hear the sincerity in his words and nodded lightly. After a pause, Ariel continued. "Ruby, I truly love you. I can't live without you. I actually understand Sabine best. She's been like this since she was young. Always wanting to compete with others. Willing to use dirty tricks just to win. I admit that before I met you. I dated her briefly when we were young. After we broke up, she said she only saw me as a friend, but she's always treated me like her possession. There was never any real possibility between us. You know that," he added. "I was just stupid. I never drew clear boundaries with her. I rubbed my ear impatiently. All right. I know. Move aside. I need to go out. His face turned pale as he asked tremblingly. Are you going to see Jeremy? I didn't deny it. Jeremy had caught a cold and developed a fever after getting soaked in the rain the night before. He called me early in the morning, his voice weak, coughing non-stop. I looked at Ariel and said calmly, I'm just worried about a friend who treats me well. If you can't handle it, then we might as well really break up this time. Ariel was silent for a long time. So long that I thought he was about to explode. So long that I thought he might agree to the breakup. Or even hit me. Instead, he suppressed his anger, clenched his fists, his eyes red as he said, Ruby, can we set a time and sit down for a proper meal together? I replied, Okay, I just hope you won't suddenly be called away by Sabine again this time. It was as if Ariel had been reborn, his eyes lit up instantly. As I left, I glanced back at him. For a fleeting moment, it seemed as though I could still see that spirited young from years ago, and the timid version of me beside him. Chapter 12. I was too busy enough already, and even busier now that I was taking Jeremy along to handle work. We had just finished one project, and another new one landed on our heads immediately, before I even had the chance to set a dinner time with Ariel. Sabine came to find me first. She had always been blunt, and with me, she never bothered to be polite or beat around the bush. I didn't know whether she had been following me for days or how she managed to track me down. I was working in a café. She suddenly appeared and sat down across from me. She began reminiscing about her youthful years with Ariel. She said, Ariel has been good-looking since he was a kid. In any crowd, he was always the most eye-catching one, so I got used to there always being girls around him. In the end, the one who stays will always be me. Then she said, You've heard about that car accident Ariel had as a child, when he broke a bone, right? I was the one who pushed him out of the way and saved him. That's why he'll never abandon me in this lifetime. She also said, I've looked through your high school photos. Back then, compared to now, it's like night and day. I'm a girl too. I know how much effort it takes to become like this. I listened quietly, my fingers never stopping as they tapped on the keyboard. She was trying to provoke me, telling me about the tightly entwined relationship between her and Ariel, about how she had long seen through what kind of existence I was, a shadow trying to embrace the sun. When she saw that I wasn't reacting, she occasionally raised her voice, as if trying to confirm whether I was even listening. I had no choice but to tug lightly at the corner of my mouth. From time to time, I shifted my gaze away from the screen, glanced up at her, and gave her a look. When she paused, I casually responded with a few perfunctory remarks. Is that so? Wow, I see. My gaze was far too calm. I was thinking about why she had come to say all this to me alone. My eyes occasionally skipped past her to the cafe entrance, or to the glass of water on the table. It wasn't exactly elegant composure. After typing the final line, I closed the laptop and quickly put it into my handbag. The material was waterproof. I let out a sigh of relief. Seeing that my attention had wandered, Sabine grew angry. I roughly guessed why she had come to say all this to me. She had sensed that I was already giving up on Ariel, and wanted to accelerate the process. If I backed off sooner, she wouldn't have had to waste so much breath on me. I thought she knew very well that the one unwilling to break up now wasn't me, it was Ariel. This time, the reconciliation with Ariel had come after his bar-owning friend, Oberon, called me repeatedly in the middle of the night, crying to me over the phone, Miss Ruby, I'm begging you, please take this menace Ariel back. Only then did I find out that during the 3 months Ariel and I were broken up. At first, he had been carefree and unrestrained, but in the last month, he suddenly couldn't take it anymore. He would get drunk at Oberon's bar, cause trouble, get into fights, or smash things from time to time. I told Oberon to look for Sabine. On the other end of the phone, Oberon sighed deeply. You think I haven't tried? Sabine can't control him at all. You two have broken up and gotten back together so many times. If Sabine could really steal him away, she would have done it long ago. Another crisp sound of something shattering came from his side. I could almost see Oberon on the verge of tears as he wailed. I'm begging you, can I call you my ancestor? Please save me already. My bar, wah. Put him on the phone. I finally relented. On the other end, Ariel was slurring his words. Completely drunk. Help me, get her to come over, if she comes. I'll go home. I won't cause trouble anymore. When he realized it was me on the call, Ariel shook his head, barely holding himself together as Oberon poured him a glass of water to sober him up. He tried to hide his vulnerability, stubbornly asking me, "Why are you still awake so late?" I didn't hide the truth. There's a new hire at the company who can't handle work. I'm figuring out how to teach him properly. Ariel's lips parted slightly. The alcohol loosened his tongue, and he roared out, "What new hire? Your new boyfriend, right?" There was a trace of grievance he couldn't quite conceal. Otherwise, why don't you ever look for me? At that moment, an irrational yet extremely effective breakup tactic flashed through my mind. I replied to him in the exact same tone he had always used to explain his relationship with Sabine to me. "Don't be so petty. He's just a co-worker. I only see him as a younger brother. If I really had something going on with him, why would I be answering your call this late? Worrying about whether you'd be okay?" I treated him the way he had treated me. It felt unexpectedly satisfying. Ariel sounded furious. "Ruby, do you think I'm an idiot?" So he knew. That kind of answer was treating someone like a fool. I suppressed my urge to laugh and continued speaking to him. "Can you not be so sensitive?" I put on an act, letting out a sigh as if heartbroken. "Forget it. If you're fine, then hurry home. Stop causing trouble at Oberon's place." There was a long silence. After a long while, Ariel, still slurring, asked again to confirm. "In those 3 months after we broke up, you really didn't have anything with anyone else?" I hadn't answered yet. The next second, Ariel spoke first. "Ruby, let's get back together. I really miss you. You liked me for so long, you would never leave me to like someone else. Is that so?" Chapter 13. Back to the present. I had already finished my coffee. The barista kept pacing nearby, clearly wanting to offer a refill, yet not daring to approach. Sabine was still talking to me, talking non-stop. I was honestly impressed. The glass of water in front of her hadn't even gone down halfway, which only made me more tense. The moment she sat down, I took a photo and posted it on my social feed. Captioned, "Work's been crazy lately, what a rare sight. Afraid Ariel might miss it." I sent it to him directly as well. I even discreetly made a WeChat call under the table, let it ring for 2 seconds, then hung up immediately. There was a sound at the entrance, along with the barista's "Welcome." Sabine and I both looked up at the same time, toward the door. It was Ariel. He finally showed up. The unsuspecting Sabine froze, eyes wide as she stared at me. "What? He's not allowed to come?" I said mockingly. Sabine was rendered speechless by that one line. She'd been through this kind of tug-of-war too many times. The moment Ariel arrived, his gaze went back and forth between Sabine and me, until it finally landed on my hand. I shot Sabine a provocative look. My expression clearly said, "This round, I win." Seeing that, Sabine immediately stood up, clung to Ariel's arm, and put on a soft, affected voice. "Ariel, don't be mad. I was just saying hello." She thought I would make a scene with her in front of him. Instead, I followed right along with her words. "Right. She definitely didn't try to persuade us to break up. And she absolutely didn't talk to me about your past together." After saying that, I shut up. No need to say more. Perhaps she hadn't expected me to respond like that. A flash of panic crossed Sabine's eyes, and she froze mid-thought. She shouted hoarsely, trembling, "Ruby, how can you talk like that?" Ariel flung Sabine's hand away. "You'd better give me a reasonable explanation. Why are you making things difficult for Ruby again?" I took a deep breath. "I'll be leaving now. She's really scary. So satisfying. I'd wanted to be this tea-like just once for a long time." I stood up, ready to leave. Seeing Sabine's defeated, dejected look, the corner of my mouth lifted into a silent sneer. Ariel said nothing, looking at me ingratiatingly, but when he turned to Sabine, his gaze was ruthless. The atmosphere tightened. All those times I had exhausted myself explaining, none of it compared to how effortless today was. Seeing me treat her like this and still try to leave so lightly. Sabine's anger flared even more. She grabbed her water glass again, trying to splash me. Ariel caught her wrist firmly. He said in a low voice, "Enough." Apologized to Ruby. I spoke faintly. "Don't make things hard for Sabine. She likes you so much. Why don't you just lock yourselves together?" Ariel's expression stiffened, veins already bulging at his temple, unable to say a word. Sabine's eyes reddened at the corners, looking furious. She tried to put on an act, saying, "I didn't come here to make you and Ariel break up." I asked, feigning confusion. "Then why did you tell me that you were the one who saved Ariel in that childhood car accident?" Then I looked at Ariel. "That's something only the two of you would know, right?" As I was leaving, I waved my phone lightly at Ariel from the doorway, meaning we'd set another time to talk. As for how the two of them cleaned up the mess afterward, that had nothing to do with me. But even as I stepped out of the café, through the transparent glass, I could still see it clearly. Sabine hysterical, desperately trying to lie her way out, and Ariel standing there, rooted to the spot, his face full of hatred. What a show! Chapter 15. When I told Ariel to leave and go find Sabine, the look in my eyes was far too calm. Only then did fear belatedly creep into Ariel's heart. He realized that he seemed to have truly lost me. Everything looked as though it hadn't changed at all, yet the sense of losing control was overwhelming. Once, my heart had burned fiercely. When I looked at him, my eyes had glowed with devotion. To Ariel, I had been glowing embers left unattended. In the end, they burned through completely, turned to ash. The wind passed, leaving no trace behind. Panicked, Ariel rushed to the hospital entrance, and there, he saw someone who unsettled him even more. Jeremy, the one who was always mentioned in my words. When Ariel lifted his gaze and met Jeremy's slightly deepened eyes, he could clearly see the determination hidden within them. Ariel sat in his car, his friends' calls ringing nonstop. Sabine was always like this, ruining his life. On every day he wanted to share happiness with me. Every moment he hoped to spend in warmth and peace. She would always interfere. The instant he heard that Sabine had attempted suicide, a despicable thought secretly surfaced in Ariel's heart. If Sabine disappeared, would she stop affecting things between Ruby and me? But would Ruby still love me? Ariel had never felt so lacking in confidence. Thinking of Jeremy at the hospital entrance left him even more restless. When he returned to the examination room and saw me, my face streaked with tears. Ariel thought, "She does love me after all." The phone rang again, and Ariel left as if jolted by electricity. Yet this time, as he walked away, he couldn't stop thinking about the examination room, about Ruby. Tears pooled in her eyes, spilling over endlessly, the tip of her nose red. Looking at him, as Ariel drove, his thoughts raced. What did she say again? She said she had found someone to take care of her. Then what about me? Does she not want me anymore? Jenny laughed at me, an achievement unlocked, being late to my own celebration dinner because I got a fish bone stuck in my throat. Fortunately, the celebration had enough programs arranged that night, even though I was delayed for quite a while. There was still time for me to touch up my makeup and make a beautiful appearance to give my speech. After the banquet ended, Sabine sent me a video. The background was the hospital. Ariel sat dejectedly in front of her. I gently tugged at the corner of my mouth and replied, "Congratulations. The one he can never let go of really is you. I was about to send a heart, wishing her a speedy recovery, but a red exclamation mark appeared. Sabine had snapped. She blocked me before I could block her. My heart was like an ancient well, calm, without ripples. I hope Ariel and Sabine's lives flow like a river, endlessly rushing onward, and from now on, our well water will no longer cross their river." Chapter 16. Jeremy and I stumbled into the hotel room together. I looked at him with a faint drunken haze in my eyes, my soft hand slipping beneath the hem of his shirt. My fingertips traced along his waist and abdomen, lightly, briefly. Soon, a scorching palm pressed against my waist. Jeremy lowered his head slightly, trying hard to maintain an air of calm composure. A kiss landed at the corner of his lips, then moved to his neck. Gentle, slow, a light nibble. Jeremy's eyes narrowed slightly, dizzy, light-headed, drifting. His flushed cheeks burned as he suppressed a low breath. I finally couldn't hold back my smile. Caught out. Jeremy instantly turned red all over. My voice wavered slightly. Aren't you afraid I'll cling to you? Not afraid. Jeremy buried his head in the crook of my neck, nuzzling softly, almost coquettishly. This wasn't the first time I had used Jeremy. During the 3 months after breaking up with Ariel, I quickly noticed that the intern Jeremy liked me and wanted to take advantage of my vulnerability. In truth, I hadn't sorted out the lingering feelings I still had for Ariel. I told Jeremy, I already have a boyfriend. We're temporarily separated and might get back together. If I get involved with you, I'd be using you. He fell silent for a long time. After a while, he finally forced out, even if. Work interrupted us before he could finish. The next day, Jeremy came to find me and carefully finished what he hadn't been able to say. He said, even if you keep using me, even if you don't like me, it's fine. Jeremy had studied abroad when he was younger. I worried he might not fully understand what I meant, or that something had been lost in translation between us. So I told him, we might be wasting our time. Jeremy replied without hesitation. Waste it on me. I closed my eyes, rose onto my toes, and kissed him again. Jeremy lifted me up and carried me toward the bed. That sudden sense of descent made me instinctively cling to his shoulders. The alcohol made my body soft and unsteady, but my mind was completely clear. I thought Ariel's words back then were probably sincere. That being with Sabine made him happier than being with me, even though he later explained that he'd been drunk. That Sabine had pressured him, entangled him, forced him to say those things. Whatever the truth was, I no longer cared. But just as emotions surged, a loud crash came from the hotel room door. It was Ariel. The door flew open. Ariel lost control, reaching out to pull me away from Jeremy. But under my cold, indifferent gaze, his body began to tremble uncontrollably. Ariel should have realized it long ago. During those 3 months apart, and even after we got back together, I used to know his phone number by heart. Yet now, even on rainy days when I needed a ride, even at every important moment in my life when I wanted to share something with someone, the person I instinctively wanted to contact was no longer him. The disappointment I had accumulated toward Ariel was simply too much. Muscle memory made me unconsciously type out his number first, only for me to delete it expressionlessly. Ariel's constant wavering between Sabine and me had long stripped him of any right to question me with moral authority. You say he loved me? For so many years, he relied on my unwavering devotion. Every time, he stood on Sabine's side, leaving me to swallow my grievances in silence. You say he didn't love me? Now that I was entangled with another man, he was suddenly ready to live or die over it. So furious, as if he wanted to tear Jeremy apart right there. Chapter 17. Because of the fight between Ariel and Jeremy, the hotel staff called the police. At the police station, even the professionally trained officers couldn't help but darken their expressions after hearing about our entanglement. Faced with situations like this, they still patiently mediated. With reddened eyes, Ariel asked me why I had cheated. I opened the audio recording saved on my phone. Just a few seconds after it started playing, Ariel's expression froze. The recording was from our last breakup, after I told Ariel to repeat what he had said if he dared. That night, we were playing a drinking game. People around us were egging him on to kiss Sabine. He was drunk. When he heard me say that, he raised an eyebrow and said casually to me, "Fine, I'll say it. It's just a game, don't take it so seriously. If you think a kiss counts as cheating, then you can go find someone too." In the recording, my voice trembled with anger, almost crying. Kissing another woman right in front of me, and you don't even consider my feelings? You call this a game? And you still say there's nothing between you and Sabine, you. Ariel cut me off, scolding me coldly. Ruby, that's enough. He sneered. We're not even married. What? Do you want me to delete every female contact? Wrap myself up from head to toe every day? Run home the moment a woman talks to me on the street? Quit my job and stay at home guarding you all day? Would that make you happy? In the recording, I asked him blankly, "Do you really think this makes sense for us?" Ariel sighed. "I already told you, if you can't stand Sabine and can't understand me, then go find someone else." I turned off the recording. I chuckled softly. I thought we were in an open relationship. Ariel stood frozen, stabbed by my mocking words. Even the world-weary police officer couldn't help but sigh. You young people really have all kinds of tricks. Ariel stared at me, desperately searching my eyes for any lingering affection. Unfortunately, the expression on my face was a cold emptiness he had never seen before. Little by little, he realized I was taking revenge on him. That I wanted to sever all ties completely. No man would truly accept his girlfriend actually being involved with someone else. The mess of feelings between Ariel and me was impossible to sort out. Jeremy hadn't lost the fight. Ariel's face was bruised, looking pitiful. In the end, it was smoothed over. Fortunately, Ariel and I were truly finished this time. Outside the police station, Sabine, pale-faced, rushed toward Ariel. Jeremy stepped forward, standing beside me protectively as we left. I'm fine, I said softly, patting Jeremy's shoulder. I'm really fine now. 1 year later, I was trying on wedding dresses in a bridal shop, when I suddenly saw a familiar figure. Ariel pointed at the man beside me and shouted angrily, "Do you know how disgusting the woman you're about to marry is? She could cheat with other men even while in a relationship. She was caught by her boyfriend and still talked back." Unfortunately for him, that man was my cousin who had traveled from another city. And behind him was my husband. Jeremy walked over from behind Ariel, rolled his eyes, and said, "I know, you're even more disgusting." The shop assistant sternly warned him, "Sir, you're disrupting our business. Please leave, or we'll call the police." In the end, Ariel staggered away. Jeremy's family was worried something might happen to me. They nervously arranged drivers and bodyguards for me. It made my daily outings look rather grand. Later on, my life became happy and smooth. Not a single one of the worries I once had ever came true. Oh, I almost forgot. Jeremy's son is a rather rare surname, and our company's CEO just so happened to have a husband with the same surname. As for Sabine and Ariel's later story, it didn't turn out well. Ariel fell into decline for several years, made some questionable friends. He got involved with who knows what substances, went in and out of rehab, and was later rumored to frequent casinos. I guessed he wanted to become a little worse, a little more rotten, thinking that would make him freer. But what kind of freedom is downward freedom, really? Sabine stayed by his side, loyal to the end, and was reduced to a miserable state by him. Later, through family connections, Ariel was introduced to a girl who resembled me somewhat. He wanted to pull himself together and properly start a family. Sabine repeated her old routine, crying, making scenes, threatening suicide, until she scared the girl away. She was still the same as ever, calling Ariel countless times in the middle of the night. This time, Ariel completely ignored her. During those years of his downfall, even his friends grew afraid of both him and Sabine. Even both families' parents could no longer be bothered with them. When Sabine's body, hanging from a swing at home, began to smell, neighbors called the police, and only then did everyone realize. This time, she wasn't just making a scene. Ariel was still too soft-hearted, blaming everything on himself. Even my cheating back then, he believed, was his fault, that he had pushed me into using such a method to finally leave him for good. One rainy night, Ariel drove off a cliff. I was very busy, so happy that I rarely even went online. Some friends who had missed my wedding and later flew in from abroad to attend my child's 1-month celebration couldn't help but sigh. I was still just as beautiful, and now even richer. It was just a pity that the man by my side wasn't the male lead they had imagined. I pressed my lips together, wearing a regretful expression as I listened to them finish recounting Ariel and Sabine's ending. Jeremy appeared, wrapping an arm around me and greeting them. They couldn't help but stare at me wide-eyed. Their expressions clearly said, "You little devil, you're really living well." Ariel extra a confused account. I actually never liked that type of girl. The kind who would randomly bring you a cup of milk tea. Who, when you got called on by the teacher in class, would insist on passing you a note even when you clearly knew the answer. Who was always shouting about owing favors and using that to make you do this or that for her. Sabine was exactly that kind of girl. Back in high school, it only got worse and worse. I went home and asked my mom about it, and only then did I find out that Sabine's parents had divorced and both remarried. Out of guilt, They gave her plenty of money, but never companionship. I figured that might be why Sabine became so obsessive. She even kept bringing up, over and over again, the time she saved me when I got into a car accident as a child, the loneliness she would occasionally reveal, and the way she always forced herself to act tough. It was pitiful. I couldn't bring myself to ignore her. From childhood to adulthood, girls had always surrounded me, and Sabine always managed to chase them away, one way or another. Ruby was different. She loved me. Ruby didn't like owing people, and she didn't like seeing others treated unfairly. She liked to keep accounts clear and settled. And another thing, Ruby cared far too much about her appearance, especially her bangs. Sometimes I stayed over at her place. I slept on the couch. Sunlight would slowly seep in through the gaps in the curtains. Half asleep, I could hear Ruby waking up before me, no matter how busy or tired she had been the day before. She always woke earlier than I did, just to fuss over those few strands of bangs. I kept my eyes closed, pretending to sleep, listening to her accidentally stepping on something, or making a small frustrated sound. I would hold back my laughter, listening quietly, waiting until the smell of food drifted out from the kitchen. Then I'd pretend to wake up, open my eyes, and there she was again, perfectly put together from head to toe, every strand of her bangs obediently in place, exactly where she wanted them. She really didn't need to be like that. Back in high school, when I was playing basketball and looked up toward the classroom building, there was always a Ruby in the corner, unkempt, using a pen as a hairpin, dark circles under her eyes, staring at me without blinking. In my heart, she was just as adorable. If only I had understood that earlier. If only I had settled the accounts properly. If only I had told her clearly, it would have been enough. After breaking up with Ruby, I felt like I was standing inside a high-rise building. From the foundation to every single floor, nothing had been built solidly. And now, it was finally about to collapse. Jeremy Extra, Chapter 01. Dad told me that after I graduated, I shouldn't wander around aimlessly, that I should obediently return to the country and go work at Mom's company. I want to die. Chapter 02. Fuck. The senior who's guiding me is a goddess. I want to live. Chapter 03. My older sister scolded me, if you're going to work, then work. Why did you buy a hairdryer and leave it in the office? Boo-hoo, and she even told Mom, saying I spend all day buying useless stuff. Chapter 04. She's so pretty. 2 hours later. She's really so pretty. Chapter 05. Too pretty. Too pretty. Way too pretty. Why is the goddess not only so pretty but also so smart? Chapter 06. Is there any possibility that while I'm calmly eating in the company cafeteria, and then, the goddess suddenly falls in love with me? Chapter 07. The goddess already has a boyfriend. Ah, is being the third not bad? Chapter 08. What kind of trash thinks he has the right to make my goddess cry? Chapter 09. Why is that piece of trash allowed to date my goddess? But I'm not. Chapter 10. What kind of trash thinks he has the right to spend my goddess's birthday with her? Ah, suddenly I don't know how to work anymore. The file I just finished, straight to the recycle bin. Empty. Empty. Chapter 11. My older sister called me. Why did you drive out to buy donuts and then suddenly get out of the car to get soaked in the rain? As the rightful heir of the group, working late at night on the top floor, she knows every single one of my movements perfectly. By the way, I brought her some extra donuts I bought. I told her it was to make the goddess happy. She rolled her eyes and said she'd call Dad and Mom to laugh at me. TSK. What would Jenny understand? She only knows how to inherit businesses and make money. She doesn't understand love at all. And besides, the hairdryer really is useful. Chapter 12. He. The goddess asked me whether I minded that she had a boyfriend. Chapter 13. Fuck. I almost said out loud. Even if you use me all the time and don't like me, if I'd said it, I wouldn't have been cool anymore. Chapter 14. In the end, I said it. I'll be the third. Chapter 15. My goddess is fragrant, soft, and sweet, little kisses. Chapter 16. Fuck. Did that piece of trash hit me? Chapter 17. I told them not to investigate other people. Result, They figured out perfectly how I climbed the ranks. Dad laughed at me for being the third. Said I had no future. Bah. Even if I have no future, I've got the same luck as him, finding a capable wife. Chapter 18. They say I'm really going to marry the goddess. My older sister ran to talk to Mom about transferring 3% of the family company's shares first as a dowry. I think it's a beautiful number. It symbolizes my love. Mom said she'd transfer it immediately, in case later they discover that I'm actually an idiot and stop wanting me. Boo-hoo.